And we're live.
We're back.
Good to be back, Pablo. So today, I thought we'd talk about some of the challenges, bumps that one encounters when starting a business or just trying to establish themselves, right? And earlier we were talking about if you can share the story about that gentleman that was involved with hiring you, and then later on was asking you to change your name.
Yeah.
Uh, how does something like that go down?
Um, well, he referred me to a manager, and he was a very successful agent, and he was actually my agent. I was buying property, and he was insuring my property,
An insurance agent.
my properties, and he was insuring them. Anyway, um, and he told me one time, you um, get along with everybody, you have people skills, you can talk to everybody, you're sharp, blah blah blah. And he said you should interview. You would be a good insurance agent. And I thought, hey, he's so nice, thinking of me this way, this and that. Later on, I found out he got a referral fee, a pretty good one too, if I got hired, and I did get hired, so he did get it. Um, but he was trying to convince me on this, and I thought, maybe I'll take a look at it. And so I got hired by this carrier, by this company, to be an insurance agent. Fortunately, I started doing okay right from the get-go. However, when the time came to get my business cards, okay, I was looking at other agents and they had all kinds of accolades, you know, LUTCF, uh, Eagles Club, champion of this. I mean, and it was just me, my name, and that was it because I was as new as they come. And I remember going to him and saying, "Hey, I need to order my business card. Is there anything else that can be put on? Because I see all these people with golden seals and this and that they've gotten, and it just seems so empty." And he goes, "Well, the one thing that I would recommend for you to do is don't put your name on the business card as Pablo Pomes. You need to change your name to Paul Pomes." And that's not the kind of advice that I was looking for. I was trying to figure out if there was any little insignia that could be put on as a new agent, blah, blah, blah. And when he said that, I thought, that's weird. So I straight out asked him, because he's my buddy. And I said, "What are you talking about? I mean," and he says, "Yeah, you see, Pablo is not the professional insurance agent. Pablo is the guy that's out there in the fields picking grapes and strawberries." That's
Jeez.
exactly what he said. I couldn't believe it because he's my buddy, and um, we get along great, and we joke around about a lot of stuff, but he wasn't joking. He was serious. And I told him, "You know what, so and so, I appreciate the advice. I'm not going to change my name. This is what I've grown up with, and I'm going to make it this way or go down in flames this way." And he said, "Okay, suit yourself, but I told you, give it. This is what you should do." And I said, "All right, no problem." And I remember thinking, you just dropped a notch on my book, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but you know what? I didn't take it. I didn't give it a lot of thought. I had too many things to worry about. Marketing, who my business was going to take care of. I mean, opening the doors, getting furniture. I mean, it was just too many things. And, I just said, it ain't worth the time. And I moved on.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I always think, what if you would have changed your name, or on your business card, right? Which a lot of people did. I remember it was a big shock when I found out Martin Sheen is actually, Estevez, I believe, is his last name.
Oh yeah.
And they're descendants from Mexico, Spain, whatever. But their last name is Sheen. And so for the movie business, you see it all the time where, musicians, they change their name. I wonder why he changed his name at the time, the father, right? And then Charlie Sheen, kept the name, but his brother is Emilio Estevez. So it's just interesting, you know. But from this gentleman's perspective, he thought it would be better for marketing purposes for you to
Right.
be Paul,
For me to be Paul
which
Miss.
is interesting, And but I just think like those are little things that, hey, I guess you didn't give it that much importance at the time,
No,
but
but it stayed with me.
yeah,
It's something that every now and then you remember. Something happens where you remember. So it stayed with me
yeah.
to this day. It's part of, let's say, my history. Because he wasn't kidding.
But he also, I've heard other stories of this gentleman, and he wasn't known to be a nice man.
Yeah, he was a tough guy. He's very successful economically speaking. He's a tough guy. His background, he had been a police officer, and then he had turned into an insurance agent. Um, you know, um, yeah, he had issues with a lot of people, um, and
Maybe
tough character,
yeah,
tough character to deal with. You know,
yeah.
we also had it out at the end of the day after 2 years of friendship or something like that. We had a big disagreement, him and I, and we went our separate ways. No hurt feelings,
Yeah.
none whatsoever. I wished him the best, and we just broke off our friendship.
It's interesting because maybe you had like a sense of loyalty to him because he
did.
helped bring you into the business.
Yes,
But eventually you had to break that friendship or that
yeah.
association. But sometimes the loyalty will keep us there longer maybe than we should be.
Oh, absolutely. I had a
know.
tremendous degree of loyalty for this gentleman. I liked him. There were things that about him that I didn't like, but I put him to the side because nobody's perfect. All you have to do is look in the mirror. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
We do things, that we can potentially, say, oh, I should have done another thing. But yeah, I think it went 2 years, and there were just things, that would happen, and what made me break the friendship with him was that I was at his office, and I would go to his office all the time. I was very welcomed. They were cool. There were three of them, and he was very successful. So he would get very, very early morning calls. I mean, I was there at 7, sometimes 7:30. That was early. Okay. He would call me up and say, "Hey, time to get up." He would be my alarm clock. That's how close we were at one point. And what are you doing? You got to get up and make money. Anyway, and so I remember I was there in the office, and a client called him, and I think it was a cell phone. They were huge, okay, huge cell phones with an antenna and nothing like the ones we have now. Anyway, and so he got a paper and pen to write some very important thing, right? And he says, "Oh, this pen doesn't write." And then I said, here you go. But I gave him a pen that I had that had been given to me by my father. It was a cross pen. The style was cross. And it was engraved for me. And he got it, and he goes, whoosh, and he threw it across the room. And it hit the wall, and then it fell on the ground. And I couldn't believe he did that. And that was like the last straw for me. And I said, you know what? I'm done here. And he was still on the phone. I picked up my pen and I told the partners, I'm never coming back. I'm done. And then I went to my office and I got a phone call from him. And he said, hey, I hear you're never coming back. And I said, that's right. And he said, you know what? You're a very selfish man. I have helped you so much. I've been a mentor to you,
Wow.
this and that. And he let me have it on the phone. And my heart started pumping. But I had taken a lot of stuff from him. And I said to him, hey, you know what? You're this, you're that, you're this other thing. And you got a lot of growing up to do. You've hurt my feelings many a time in the course of our friendship. And I'm done with you. Well, you're this and that. And we stood there battling it on the phone back and forth until we both said, okay, well, we're done with each other. Yes, we are. Goodbye. And then I think 25 years went by. We would see each other in meetings and walk in the opposite directions and stuff like that because I began to make it to meetings. And I broke silence when his son passed away. And I called him up and I said, hey, it's been a long time. I heard your son passed away. Let me just say I'm very sorry for your loss. And he said, thank you. Yeah, it's been a while. And we said some nice things to each other. And we hung up. And we never spoke to each other again. That was the end of that. So that was one thing that I lived. And, things happen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, some people are just, they are the way they are maybe because certain experiences that they had. And
Yeah.
maybe that was his way of being kind to you or whatever the case.
I don't have ill feelings toward him in any way. He was a mentor to me. He had issues with a lot of people, and they didn't have very good adjectives to describe him with. But I refrained from speaking negatively about him.
Yeah.
There was no point. People, I remember, because we're in the same group. We're all insurance agents. Okay, we're all working for this company. And if you achieve a certain level of sales and whatever, you made it to gatherings and trips and right. So forth. And so, no ill feelings.
Yeah.
I wish him, I hope he's doing well. I hope he's good. I have no idea where he is, but ill feelings. And there's things that come across in your business life,
Yeah. Yeah, characters that, like I remember early on also coming across some characters that I saw as mentors because they were very successful. But then you'd see certain things that were done that weren't done correctly or, ethically, or you're walking a gray line, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to be able to separate the two and a mentor and then say, hey, maybe that's not, I don't want to learn that bad behavior, let's say from,
Look,
but everybody's got something. Yeah.
Even us.
Absolutely. No one's perfect.
No one's perfect. All we have to do, again, is just look in the mirror. And before you point a finger at somebody, you got 3 fingers pointing back.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
My dad used to say that. And another dear friend of the family, so you need to stay grounded and realize that sometimes people do things because of the circumstances that they find themselves in.
Yeah.
So when you are a harsh judge of people, remember the old saying, he who lives by the sword dies by the sword.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm not saying with this that you have to take crap from anybody. You don't. But you can simply walk away.
Yeah.
I took a lot of baloney from this gentleman.
Yeah.
Until I said, that's it. when he threw the pen my father had given me, that was the end of it. I wasn't willing to go not one more step, and so that was
And
it.
if it wouldn't have been that, it would have been something else.
Potentially.
Because, you were already at that point.
Yeah. I remember buying a brand new vehicle, but it was all I could afford. It was one of these huge, I think it was a Chrysler. And it was a good deal. I remember that I was able to get it out of the dealership. It was my first brand new car with my own money that I have bought. But it was huge, and it wasn't pretty. And I was able to afford a much better car, a sporty car, maybe a BMW or whatever. But I chose not to. I chose to get this car because this car was extremely affordable. It was huge and not pretty at all, but it fit people and, stuff, kids, whatever. Anyway, and I remember driving to his office very proud to show him the car. And he came out of the office with his buddy, his other partner. I remember him well too. And he turned, "Did you just buy that?" And I said, "Yeah, you like it?" And he turns to his friends and goes, "I didn't know they still sell this kind of crap." And it was a brand new car. 0 miles or 5 miles or something. So, I did put up with a lot of stuff because of the loyalty I felt towards him. And then at one point, I felt this is degrading to my character.
Yeah.
I can't no longer continue this friendship and feel good about myself. It's got to come to an end. As much as I regret it, it's got to come to an end. And so I just cut it. Had to.
Yeah, I mean, especially like in those interactions, I mean, it gets your heart pumping.
Well, I mean,
it's not a healthy relationship.
No, I don't think so. It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
And I did learn a lot from this man. A lot.
Yeah.
He taught me a lot.
And that's why you're there with him, but eventually you gotta move on, right? And associate ourselves with better influences and people that I think uplift us.
Yeah. There's a famous clip from Robert De Niro. And he is in a round table. They're asking him questions, and I forget the people that are next to him, and I don't remember who the host is. If I did, I would.
It's an interview or a movie?
It's an interview with Robert De Niro.
Okay.
It's not a movie.
Okay.
And he says something along these lines. He says, when things are doing very well for you, just remember to stay cool. Stay cool and grounded. Don't think that you're the king of Siam or something like that. Just because things can turn, and you want to just stay stable, grounded. And I don't remember the context right now, but maybe he was talking about if things are doing really, really well, you go out, you spend a lot of money, and then all of a sudden things can turn on you. But I do remember that he's saying, stay grounded.
Yeah.
When things are doing really, really well, you want to rip up your cage, or your cape and go out there and take on the world, and you feel you got all these boosters and invincible. And De Niro is saying, keep it cool. You're doing well, right? Keep it cool. Keep it on the rails, you know. And I remember that because there were other instances. For example, the company would do a lot of meetings. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was talking to 2 other gentlemen that had been with the company for a while, because I always looked up at the people that were doing
well.
Well. And so I would find a way to meet them and talk to them and become their friends and so forth, because you learn just by osmosis. You learn from these people. And I remember we were in a meeting. We were all dressed up, suits and ties, okay? Because I wore a tie for 23 years. And then now I don't wear ties. It's just one of those things that you say, I'm done wearing ties, and maybe I should. I wear
Well,
ties.
special occasions you wear a tie.
Well, I wear a tie for what is it? Real estate and ties.
Yeah, yeah.
If you don't wear a tie there, they don't let you in, or they give you this. Christian will throw an old,
Ugly tie.
an old crappy tie. So, but anyway, yeah, I wear a tie if I have to. But, and so I remember talking to these two gentlemen, and lo and behold, one of the managers comes in. Okay. And it was either 2 or 3 people. He shook hands with everybody in the group except me. You know, people had a tendency to describe him as somewhat arrogant. But here I am, I'm talking to 2 or 3 guys. I think there were 4 of us, so it might have been 3 guys. He comes in, shake hands with everybody except me. And I thought, and nobody said anything about it. Nobody, it seemed like they were oblivious. Even the persons I was talking to, hey, how you doing? Yeah, yeah. You know, people are not
Right.
thinking this.
But it affected you.
Well, I mean, we're all in a group together. Later on, this gentleman found out about it because I told a couple people, look at this gentleman. Look at this guy. Comes in, shakes hands with everybody in the group except me. And it's not like I was 5 feet away. I was in the midst of it because I was always trying to learn in the midst of it. He shook hands. He's a manager. And he became my manager later on in life.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, and he did apologize. He says, hey, I heard that this had happened one time. I had a lot on my mind, this and that. And I said, no problem. But, you know, when something like that happens, I pay attention to those details.
Yeah.
Okay? And you're not allowed to do that, man. It's not proper business etiquette.
It reminds me, like, one can forgive, but you never forget. And it reminds me, well, I mean, yeah, people, I've heard a lot like, oh, that wasn't me. I had things going on in my life, and we all have gone through things, and you can forgive people, right? But then the other side is how much of that is like your true colors showing, because you know something was going on or whatever, and you didn't have that typical, let's say, facade or mask that one wears, right? So that's the thing, is how much of it is it the real person, you know, or do you just forgive and move on and don't and forget at the same time?
You know, I'm older now. So the reality is that it's petty.
Yeah.
So the best
So hold on to it, right?
No, the best advice I could give is, you know, move on. Because I think it was Winston Churchill that said, if you stop to listen to every dog that barks on the way, you're never going to reach your destination. Maybe I'm changing it a little bit, but the idea is there. You can't stop and listen or fight with every dog that barks. You know, you have a bigger meaning, or you know, you're heading.
Yeah.
If you have a goal, you're heading in a direction. Not all the battles are worth fighting.
Right. Right.
You know, you can't.
No.
It's not worth it.
No.
And even when this gentleman became my manager, my relationship with him was very superficial. Maybe because of what had happened too.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know, hey, no, good, okay, I accept your apology, let's move on. What do you need? You need these numbers, you need this number of sales, this is what you need.
Yeah. No, at the end of the day, I think you lose. You as the person that's kind of holding on to that.
Right.
It's like, you know, in business, or if you're sending out, you're making calls or whatever, and you're getting rejected and people are telling you no, you know, you just got to put the pride to the side You have to put the ego aside, because I think it's a lot of it is ego, you know. And I've been in situations like that too. Why didn't that person say hello to me or shake my hand or whatever, right? It's ego a lot of times, but or pride. But at the end of the day, I think it's good advice. You're saying just move on. Don't hold on to it. Um,
Oh, for
because
sure.
it's not worth it,
It's
you know.
petty.
And you just keep pushing forward. And one thing that it reminded me, these are obstacles that people encounter in pursuing anything in life. And I heard a quote from John Maxwell. I believe it was his name, John Maxwell.
Okay.
And he said that everything worthwhile in life is uphill, and you don't get there by accident. You don't get to the top of a hill by accident. You have to make the effort to walk up, and you feel that struggle. And so these are struggles that, let's say, they're uncomfortable and things that one has to go through. It's just you have to go through. In a perfect world, everyone's going to be nice and everyone's going to be treat you great, but the reality is that no. And I think if you can just let some stuff go. I mean, I've been in situations. I remember one situation where I hung up with this lady, and I was 21 years old or 22 years old, and no more than, I was 22, 23, and I hung up, and I remember seeing looking at my hand, and I was shaking.
Oh, wow.
At 23 years old, I'm like, this is not supposed to be happening at this age. But
she got to you that much.
She got under my skin. She got under my skin to the point that it affected my health.
So what, you hang up the phone and you're going like this?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was shaking.
Wow.
I mean, at the age of 21, 22, something like that.
Wow.
And so, and actually there's been several instances in my life where I've come out like that in a situation where, but I end up growing. Like I remember this one time, this one lady, it was another lady that I walked into her office.
Mine were men.
I had a man too that messed with me. This guy was a police officer.
Oh God. I remember that.
Yeah. And
But you were what, 18, 19?
No, I think I was it's also 23, around that age.
Oh, okay.
It's just that I got introduced because of you guys. I got introduced to business at an early age.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
So I started facing some of these being hung up on, or angry customers, or this and that at an early age. And so you begin to develop a little bit of a tolerance or resilience towards it.
Skin.
Yeah, you develop thick skin, But this one time that I'll never forget was, and I actually ran into this lady recently, but I walked into her office, and this lady gave me the look of death. It was a look of like hatred. And I remember calling you afterwards because she kicked me out of her office.
She kicked you out.
She kicked me out because she thought that I was poaching or trying to steal her customers, which I wasn't.
Did she give you a chance? She didn't give you a chance
No.
to. No. She
No.
just kicked you.
Kicked me out, and she just gave me this super super dirty look and get out of here kind of thing. And then I remember getting out of there, and I was a little shaky because I thought I was going to get fired by the company, because she said I already sent a letter to corporate, and they're going to come down on you.
To corporate.
Yeah.
And they're coming down on you.
Oh yeah, because she was accusing me of doing something that I wasn't doing, but was like trying to steal her customers, do something improper. And I called you. I remember we all went to dinner that night.
Oh, I remember.
The four of us, you, mommy, my wife, and I couldn't sleep that night because I kept playing out in my head how I'm gonna get fired, and I have been working really hard to get there and to that position. But these are people that, looking back, I just think they're people that. I sent you this quote yesterday. which I think it's appropriate somewhat to what we're talking about. The quote was from The Prince,
Okay.
and the quote is by Niccolo Machiavelli. It's, men do you harm either because they fear you or because they hate you.
Oh.
Or women do you harm either because they fear you or because they hate you. And I think that in that situation, maybe it was fear. I think sometimes people in fear of a situation, maybe this one lady that I'm referring to, she thought she was fearful that I was going to step on her toes, maybe take money from her somehow, commissions, whatever. And I think it came from a place of fear. I don't think that there was just like hate, but the look was of
Hate.
And but I do think, looking back, that these situations, like,
So how did it get resolved? Did you make a mistake? Did you do something bad, or did you have approval to do what you did, or?
no, what I did was I had sent out letters introducing myself because I had bought a book of business from a gentleman that was leaving the company.
But did you have the right to do it? Was she mistaken?
I had the right to do it and introduce myself as the new agent, along with this lady that our names were on this letter. So I made sure to address both of our names were on this letter, but I was introducing myself.
Right, but corporate had to approve that.
Corporate essentially backed me up.
Okay, so you didn't.
They said you have the right to send your clients letter, like a letter. You can send your clients a letter introducing yourself. You didn't do anything wrong, and so.
So you were cleared.
Yeah, and the guy that ended up hiring me as that position, he told me, he's like, hey, you're gonna be all right because you can send letters, and so he kind of calmed me down. But there were sleepless nights.
Sure.
And that was, maybe I was 27 at the time. But, we go through those things in life.
They make you stronger.
They make you stronger. Yeah. And I think they're necessary to become who we are today. And
sure.
And we're keeping on learning. And yeah, the idea isn't to go, let's say, and a negative route or anything, but in business you have some people that you have characters, and you have to be able to know how to maneuver like you did. We have to learn how to maneuver with these characters, or they can mess you up.
Yeah,
they can mess you up because there are some people that maybe aren't able to sever a relationship like that. That's a negative one, a toxic one, and they'll bring you down.
Oh, no doubt. In every area of life.
Absolutely.
I mean, even in marriage, in business, in friendship, in
yeah.
You need to have that internal strength to be, and it's difficult. Because you'll have like me. I liked him, and I had loyalty for this gentleman, and it was hard for me to, but that I couldn't take it. That was the end of it. Yeah. Well,
cool.
We've been there,
and there'll be other adversities.
There'll be other things. Hopefully, we've can give whatever advice we're giving out today. We can give it to ourselves so that we can. Deal with them in a much better way in the future. Yeah.
I think that a lot of it, looking back, if we look at these situations, and these are just sharing our experiences, maybe some people can learn from them or are facing them as well. But looking back is kind of removing the emotion in that situation, or calming down, or just letting it. It's easier said than done. But when a situation like that occurs, not letting lose sleep of it, over it, not letting yourself.
Easier said than done. Yeah.
Easier said than done.
Yeah. Some people say, hey, look, worry about the things that you control.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the things that are beyond your control.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of truth to that.
We got to remind ourselves.
Yeah.
Cool.
All
Thanks
right.
for sharing Pablo, how you kept the name Pablo.
Thank you for sharing. I have forgotten about that situation a little bit.
Now we can look back and laugh.
Yeah.
The pen was your dad had given it to you or your uncle?
My dad.
It was your dad.
Yeah, my dad had given it to me and engraved my name on it. And I think because I had attained some kind of big milestone in the company or something, and he had just given it to me for.
Yeah.
It was a birthday and also to say, hey, congratulations.
Wow.
And he threw it across the room. I don't think he didn't know that I valued that pen with that sentimental,
Right.
But it was the last. I mean, if it wouldn't have been, like you said, if it wasn't that, it would have been another thing. I have that pen till today. So
we'll leave it for our next podcast, but I would love to hear the story about that one agent that picked up the phone one time, spoke a certain way to a customer who was one of his biggest accounts, if not his biggest account, and never got a second chance.
Right.
And maybe we can touch on that next time.
Yes.
Because that's a really, really interesting.
Absolutely.
You got to be on your game always.
Yeah. When you're in sales or when you're in a business that you cater to the public,
yeah,
the best advice that I can give is expect the unexpected and be ready for anything. And like you say, take the emotion out of it. And a lot of times when I see something I don't like, I wait 24 hours before I send that email out.
Yeah.
By the way, that's one of the Robert Greene's rules of
48 laws?
48 laws of power.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either that or the new one that he came up with, learning a master human behavior. So it's one of those.
So we'll touch on that next time.
We'll touch on that.
Thanks for
Thank
sharing.
you. Thank you.